Some major news out of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into Donald Trump's attempt to stay in power despite losing the 2020 election and his incitement of the January 6th insurrection. We just learned, according to the New York Times, that Jack Smith has subpoenaed Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner, who were both involved with Donald Trump in the lead-up to the January 6th insurrection. These two subpoenas are the closest to Trump that Jack Smith has gotten so far, after Mike Pence was subpoenaed just 2 weeks ago. This subpoena will compel them to testify before a grand jury in connection with the January 6th insurrection, which encompasses not just the events of the insurrection itself, but also Trump's overall efforts to stay in power. Now, you'll remember that after Mike Pence was subpoenaed, he said he would not comply, arguing that his former role as president of the Senate somehow gives him special privileges to not have to testify because, you know, law and order or something. It's unclear so far if Ivanka and Jared also plan to fight this new subpoena, and we can certainly expect Donald Trump to try and prevent them from testifying by trying to claim executive privilege. But one thing we do know is that both Ivanka and Jared had extensive involvement with Trump in the lead-up to and during January 6th. For example, we know that Ivanka was in the Oval Office with her father on the morning of January 6th as he called Mike Pence to pressure him to block the certification of Biden's win, even though Pence had no power to do so. Ivanka was also with her father at the rally near the White House just before most of the crowd began rushing to the Capitol after Trump spoke. Jared Kushner was also at the White House that day, and both of them were reportedly involved in the hours-long arm-twisting effort to get Trump to finally record this video.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election, and everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us. From me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
Of course, both Ivanka and Jared testified before the January 6th committee, and the committee released video of their testimony, and one of the most damning things that we learned was when Ivanka herself acknowledged that Trump's election lies were complete and total bullshit.
I saw absolutely zero basis for the allegations, but they were made in such a sensational way that they obviously were influencing a lot of people, members of the public, that there was this systemic corruption in the system and that their votes didn't count and that these machines controlled by somebody else were actually determining it, which was complete nonsense. And it was being laid out there. And I told them that it was crazy stuff and they were wasting their time on that. And it was doing a grave disservice to the country.
This is the president's daughter commenting on Bill Barr's statement that the department found no fraud sufficient to overturn the election.
How did that affect your perspective about the election when Attorney General Barr made that statement?
It affected my perspective. I respect Attorney General Barr. So I accepted what he was saying.
Jared Kushner testified that White House counsel Pat Cipolloni's threats to resign over Donald Trump's election lies were nothing more than whining.
Jared, are you aware of instances where Pat Cipollone threatened to resign?
I kind of, like I said, my interest at that time was on trying to get as many pardons done. And I know that, he was always, him and the team were always saying, oh, we're going to resign. We're not going to be here if this happens, if that happens. So I kind of took it up to just be whining, to be honest with you.
And we also know that the New York Times reported that Donald Trump was, quote, infuriated by his daughter and son-in-law's testimony, so we can expect him to be even more infuriated by this subpoena. All of that is underscored by the fact that there appears to be a growing rift between Donald Trump and his daughter, with Ivanka releasing a statement saying that she will not participate in his 2024 campaign. That, of course, was followed in December by Donald Trump himself posting on Truth Social, quote, contrary to fake news reporting, I never asked Jared or Ivanka to be part of the 2024 campaign for president, and in fact, specifically asked them not to do it. Right. Trump went on to say, there has never been anything like this ride before and they should not be further subjected to it. Well, unfortunately, due to their proximity to a criminal coup attempt, it seems that Jared and Ivanka won't be left off the ride so easily. Remember, these are two people who were woefully unqualified for the roles they held in the White House. Jared Kushner was tasked with achieving peace in the Middle East, and as soon as he left office, he used the connections he made to receive $2 billion from a fund led by the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince. Ivanka Trump, meanwhile, used her role to get dozens of trademarks for her businesses approved in China, and in fact, she applied for 17 Chinese trademarks just one day before being appointed as an advisor to Trump. But hey, I'm sure that they just got those things because they earned them. The fact is that these people are shameless grifters who were just fine participating in 4 full years of lies and crimes and abuses of power until it took an insurrection against the United States government for them to decide that they couldn't stand the heat anymore. Unfortunately for them, the law and Jack Smith's subpoena power don't care about that. And as slow as it may seem to be moving, they are finally facing some ounce of accountability. Now, if you're wondering where we go from here, it's also worth noting that this latest major development aligns with what former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner said last week on our exclusive YouTube legal series, The Legal Breakdown, when I asked him about the pace at which Special Counsel Jack Smith was moving and what we can expect moving forward. When can we expect the next milestone here, the next some tangible results out of this case? Because a lot of this is happening behind closed doors. The DOJ is famous for not leaking any of this information, despite how much we want them to leak some of this stuff. So what's the next milestone we should be on the lookout for to know whether or not they'll be moving forward with an indictment?
Yeah, my magic 8-ball is in the shop right now. I wish I had it here to help me predict, and we can't predict. It's impossible to predict, but here's what we can say. Based on a whole bunch of data points, Jack Smith is moving 100 miles an hour, and he's moving in a fearless manner, because when you start to put the target of the investigation, his lawyers into the grand jury, you're getting very close, I believe, to criminal charges. Again, if I had to apply everything I learned as a federal prosecutor for 30 years to this set of facts, I could see indictments being handed down, I would say in the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, something like that, given the pace Jack Smith has set.
So again, we can't possibly predict every move that Jack Smith is going to make, and we can't possibly know the exact timetable that he's working on, but we do know that he's moving fast. And we know that thanks to this latest subpoena, that he's moving closer and closer into Trump's inner circle. These are great signs for those of us who care about democracy and accountability, and not such great news for Donald Trump. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.